Welcome to Wabazan Wire. Today we're talking about netizens' reaction toward claims of ancient Malay civilization influencing the world earlier than Rome. So let's just jump right in. There's been this, well, quite astonishing situation bubbling up recently. A tenured professor from the International Islamic University gave a lecture.
And it wasn't just any lecture.
No, exactly. She was arguing for basically the global supremacy of ancient Malay civilization. I mean, these aren't small tweets to the history books.
Not at all. We're talking fundamental rewriting, shifting the whole idea of the cradle of civilization away from, Mesopotamia or Egypt.
And putting it right here on our peninsula. Massive claim.
It really is, and that's what we need to unpack today. These specific ideas like the claim that Romans couldn't really sail properly until they met ancient Malays.
Right.
And we also need to look at the reaction because, frankly, it's been fierce. Other academics calling it pseudo-history, and the public online, well, they've had a lot to say too.
Yeah, it really touches a nerve, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's about our history, what we teach, what we believe about ourselves.
Exactly. How we see ourselves on the world stage.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. The professor's main point seems to be about the timeline, shifting things way back.
She points to the Funan Kingdom era, suggesting that as early as maybe 1000 BCE, ancient Malays were already like master shipbuilders and navigators.
1000 BCE, that's very early, predating Rome's peak by centuries.
Precisely. And that early date is crucial for the next bit, the really shocking claim about the Romans.
This is the part I'm finding hard to grasp. That the Romans, famous for their Mediterranean dominance, their navy.
They apparently lacked the skill initially. The argument is they only learned advanced shipbuilding after they encountered Malay traders.
Encountered them where, though?
In the Med.
Or Southeast Asia.
The claim seems to imply encounters on these long-distance trade routes, suggesting Malays were active across the Indian Ocean, maybe even reaching the Mediterranean. It's ambitious.
Ambitious is one word for it. Saying the Romans, with their triremes and quinquiremes, needed lessons from us. You'd need some seriously solid proof for that.
Well, the argument seems to rest on this idea of very early, widespread Malay maritime presence and having superior technology first.
And it wasn't just ships, right? There was more.
Oh, yeah. The tech claims expanded. She talked about finding thousands of ancient iron smelters here on the peninsula.
Okay.
And dated them to 788 BCE.
Wow. 788 BCE.
Yeah.
That's incredibly early for mass iron production.
Right.
What was the supposed impact of that?
The implication was huge, that this iron smelted in Kita was basically supplying major world players, even people like the Vikings and Russians, apparently.
The Vikings? Getting iron from Kita in 700 BCE? That feels like a stretch.
It's a very bold connection, and she linked it further, tying the building of these smelters to a figure named Zulkarnain, positioning him as a Malay ruler contemporary with Prophet Ibrahim.
So weaving together religious history, ancient industry, national identity, it's a powerful narrative if it holds up.
It definitely aims to create this picture of a dominant, technologically advanced Malay world as the true cradle of civilization.
Did she mention other technologies?
Yes. Things like complex irrigation systems, advanced salt production methods, and these huge merchant fleets, hundreds of ships, apparently, all part of this advanced civilization package.
Religion, too. I remember reading something about that.
Right. A claim that Funan practiced a kind of early monotheism, and that Islam didn't arrive later with Arab traders, as is commonly understood, but through some kind of ancient prophetic bloodline.
Okay, so these are truly foundational claims across technology, history, religion. And it wasn't just academic theorizing, was it? There was a call to action.
Absolutely. This wasn't just presented as history. It came with policy demands, a call for what she termed decolonization education.
Which means?
Practical steps. Things like making Arabic compulsory for all students, adopting completely new textbooks reflecting this history, and holding international conferences to essentially get global validation for these ideas.
So, embed it in the national curriculum. Force the change through the education system.
That's the clear implication.
Right. And when you make claims that big,
Yeah.
especially linking them to education policy, you expect pushback. And it came.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And strongly. Professor James Chin from the University of Tasmania's Asia Institute weighed in very clearly.
What did he say?
He didn't mince words, called it pseudo-history, straight up. Said that from a mainstream historical viewpoint, based on evidence, that's what it is.
Pseudo-history. That's about as direct a criticism as you can get in academia.
It is. He elaborated, too, saying that, most serious historians looking at these claims without extraordinary supporting evidence would probably just think the professor was Well, he used the word crazy.
Oof, that's harsh.
It shows the depths of the disagreement with established historical understanding, but maybe the more concerning point Professor Chin raised was about the institution itself.
The International Islamic University.
Yes. He pointed out that this professor has apparently been making similar claims for about a decade.
A decade.
According to Chin, yes. And in that time, the university hasn't seemingly required her to rigorously defend this research in open debate or through extensive peer review against mainstream historians.
So the claim is, these ideas haven't been seriously challenged or tested within her own institution?
That's the concern raised. It brings up questions about academic standards, If equal claims this, revolutionary are being made, and calls for policy change are based on them, shouldn't there be a robust internal process of verification?
Especially when they contradict so much accepted history.
Exactly. Academic freedom is vital, but it usually comes with academic responsibility, the need to substantiate extraordinary claims, especially when they impact public education.
Now let's quickly touch on that accepted history. Rome's naval power. Where did historians generally agree it came from?
Well, the consensus is it developed over centuries, learning from and competing with other Mediterranean powers like the Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Egyptians. Their big trade routes went east, but primarily towards India, Sri Lanka, via the Red Sea.
Not really reaching Southeast Asia during the Roman Empire's main period.
The evidence just isn't there for significant direct contact or technological transfer from Southeast Asia to Rome in that classical period. And then there's the timing issue.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
The major Southeast Asian maritime empires, like Srivijaya, really hit their stride after the Western Roman Empire had already collapsed. So the idea of Funan teaching Rome shipbuilding during Rome's peak, the timelines just don't line up according to standard chronologies.
It seems like two different worlds, historically speaking, until much later connections were made.
Pretty much.
Okay, so with these huge claims and the strong academic pushback, it's no surprise this spilled over online. What did the netizens make of it all?
Oh, the reactions were quite varied. You had everything from pure sarcasm to really serious questions about academic integrity.
Let's start with the sarcasm. I saw some pretty wild comments.
Yeah, people took the Malay greatness idea to hyperbolic extremes. Things like, the sun was also launched into space by ancient Malays, or joking about fictional characters, just mocking the scale of the claims.
Right, like that comment suggesting her credentials were from a Kampong university, basically implying it wasn't serious scholarship. It's ridicule as a form of critique.
Exactly, using humor to question the validity. But beneath the jokes, there was real concern.
What kind of serious points were people making?
People were asking fundamental questions like, where did she get her academic credentials from? Can her points and reference be contested on? That shows a public expectation for academic rigor, for claims to be debatable and based on evidence.
They want to see the receipts, basically.
Pretty much. And there was concern about international reputation. One comment was like, aren't you afraid of being laughed at by people all over the world for changing history like this?
That fear of looking foolish on the world.
Yes. A sense that history is a global discipline, and you can't just unilaterally rewrite it without solid, internationally accepted proof.
I also saw a comment linking this to accountability, comparing it to maybe other situations where public figures made claims without strong backing.
Someone brought up a past case involving a PhD holder facing legal action for making unsubstantiated links. The point being made was about intellectual responsibility. Imagination is great for art, but academic history needs proof. You can't just assert things, especially from a position of authority.
That's a crucial distinction. And then there was the pragmatic view.
Ah, yes. The comment that really cut through it all. It doesn't matter if you ruled the whole world in the past. What is happening now matters.
Kind of brings it back down to earth, doesn't it? Forget the possibly mythical glorious past. Focus on present realities, current standards, future progress.
Precisely. And that really highlights the core issue here for everyone listening. It's this tension, this conflict between wanting a grand national story, a narrative of past supremacy, and the demands of actual evidence-based history.
The danger being?
The danger is when that aspirational narrative starts replacing rigorous research in our universities, and worse, when it starts driving education policy. That affects what future generations learn, what they understand about the world, and evidence.
So it leaves us with a really tricky question, especially thinking about national identity and culture.
It does.
Here's something for you all to think about. How do universities balance supporting cultural studies, researching our heritage, which is important, with the need for historical methods that stand up to global scrutiny? Where's that line between promoting cultural pride and slipping into, well, academically questionable fantasy?
That line can be blurry, and navigating it requires real commitment to intellectual honesty.
Definitely something to chew on.
Mm.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.